Hello, A Day with Caleb, and we are back with another movie review, movie retrospective, whatever you want to call it. And this covers the all-time classic Titanic in 1997. Uh, as far as obsessions go, this is one of my many obsessions. Uh, Spider-Man and Mummy are probably at the top, and then right below those two is Titanic overall, the history, the tragedy, the movies, and that includes the 1997 box office success, Titanic. So let's dive right into it. Titanic is the 1997 American disaster film written, produced, directed, and edited or co-edited by James Cameron, who has three of the highest grossing films of all time. That includes, of course, Titanic, Avatar, and Avatar The Way of Water, which is the sequel, obviously the second film in the Avatar franchise. This Titanic nominated 14 times for an Oscar, won 11 of those Academy Awards, based on the real-life tragedy of the 1912 sinking of the Titanic, which struck an iceberg on April 12, 1912, and many lost their lives that night. There are many Titanic museums. I've been to a few of them and even went to where they built the Titanic, which you can see here. And I didn't recreate it, but some of my classmates recreated the famous scene. The cast: Kate Winslet as Rose DeWitt. Her and her mother keep the facade of being wealthy after the death of her father, and which left them debt-ridden, and she is engaged to a wealthy man. Then she meets Leonardo DiCaprio, who plays Jack Dawson. He's an orphan who has traveled the world and wins these tickets to sail on the Titanic in a poker game. Billy Zane is the fiance to Rose. Caledon Hockley. Frances Fisher as Ruth Denise, the widowed mother of Rose. Gloria Stewart as modern-day Rose, or the older version of Rose. Bill Paxton as Brock Lovett, a treasure hunter who is looking for the heart of the ocean and the wreck of Titanic. Susie Amos as Lizzie Calvert, Rose's granddaughter, who accompanies Rose to see the Titanic and learn all about Jack. Danny Nuckley as Fabrizio, who is Jack's best friend. David Warner as Spicer Lovejoy, Cal's boyfriend, who was also in the SOS Titanic, the 1979 series. Jason Barry as Tommy Ryan, a third-class passenger who befriends Jack and Fabrizio. And then we get to the historic characters of the film, and obviously in real life in the Titanic. Kathy Bates as Margaret Molly Brown, who is the unsinkable Molly Brown. And there was a movie, of course, and a real life person who Kathy Bates plays, Victor Garb, and she got that name because of the Titanic. She would not let the Titanic sink her. Victor Garber as Thomas Andrews, the ship's builder, Bernard Hill as Captain Edward John Smith, planned to be his final voyage before retiring, but ultimately that did not happen. He went down with the Titanic. Jonathan Hyde as J. Bruce Ismay, manager director who told the captain to go faster. Eric Brodin as John Jacob Astor IV, the richest man on the ship. Bernard Fox as Colonel Archibald Gracie IV. Fox portrayed Frederick Fleet in the 1958 A Night to Remember. You may also recognize Bernard from The Mummy, which we did talk about. So that's neat, that connection is there. Both of my obsessions feature Bernard Fox. That's very cool. Michael Inson as Benjamin Guggenheim. Jonathan Evans-Jones as Wallace Hartley, a violinist who played Near My God to Thee as the Titanic sunk. Mark Lindsay Chapin as Chief Officer Henry Wilde. Ewan Stewart as First Officer William Murdoch. Jonathan Phillips as Second Officer Charles Lightoller took charge of the portside evacuations. Simon Crane as Fourth Officer Joseph Poxall. Loan Grifford as Fifth Officer Harold Lowe. Edward Fletcher as Sixth Officer James Moody. James Lancaster as Father Thomas Biles. Lou Potter and Evan Raven as Isidore and Ida Strauss. Martin Jarvis as Sir Cosmo Duff Gordon. Rosalind Eris as Lady Duff Gordon. Rochelle Rose as Noel Leslie, Countess of Ross. Paul Brightwell as Quartermaster Robert Hitchens. Scott G. Anderson as Frederick Fleet. Martin East as Reginald Lee. Gregory Cook as Jack Phillips. Craig Kelly as Harold Bride. Liam Tooney as Chief Baker Charles Juhin. Terry Forrestal as Chief Engineer Joseph G. Bell. And of course we all know the plot, so there's no need to go through the film. We've probably all seen it by now. So, and if you have not seen this James Cameron film, you probably know the history that took place on that fateful night. And it was neat in looking at the cast. Obviously, some were made up for the film, Rose and Jack, but then to see the historical figures, characters based on real life people like Unsinkable Molly Brown, and I have that film. I did not know that is why she had that name. So, even me obsessed with the Titanic, I did not know that story. So, that was very neat. Hope you enjoyed this look back at one of the highest grossing films of all time, Titanic. Like, subscribe, share with a movie Titanic mummy lover. Until next time, watch Titanic one more time and keep collecting.